afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Before I commence my presentation, let me take a few seconds to thank the CTO for bringing this program here. And I'd like to thank particularly the Broadcast Commission. In Nigeria, it takes 30 days for you to get a visa to come to Jamaica. But because of the combined efforts of CTO and the Broadcast Commission, they were able to fast-track my visa application in 1.5 weeks. That's how I was able to get here. So thank you very much. How does this work? Oops. He's taking us to the end. Thank you. Sorry for the break in transmission. I didn't have a time with the technician before we started. I'm to talk about the DVB-T2 standard in the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS. And I want to go through this quickly, introducing who ECOWAS is, and then the modification to our digital plan and the decisions that drove us to the DVB-T2 standard in ECOWAS region. And then I want to go quickly through how far we've come, and then our thoughts for the future, then we can conclude. ECOWAS is an economic community of West African states, and it comprises of 15 states of the West African sub-region in Africa. That map shows in green where ECOWAS is in Africa. And this is the map of ECOWAS countries itself. Okay, at the RLC 06, a digital plan for the transition from analog to digital terrestrial television was drawn up for Region 1 of the ITU. The plan covered 174 to 230 megahertz in the upper VHF band and 470 to 862 megahertz in the UHF band. This exercise resulted in the GE06 agreement. Prior to 2006, in most countries of Region 1 of the ITU, these bands were exclusively allocated to television broadcasting. Subsequent World Radio Congresses, proposals were brought in to share what used to be primary allocation for broadcasting to other services on co-primary basis. 2007 World Radio Congress, 790 to 862 megahertz, which is the digital dividend one, was excised from the exclusive preserve of broadcasting. And then in World Radio Congress of 2012, 694 to 790 megahertz was also excised from exclusive use of television. And this is what was referred to as digital dividend 2. And this shows graphically the implications. In the 2006 digital plan, we had assignments all the way from 470 megahertz to 862. With the resolutions of 2007 and 2012, 9 channels in 2007, and then additional 12 channels were now taken off the analog allocations from exclusive use of television. So the implication is that we now had to go back to the drawing board to replan and bring all assignments from 694 upwards back to be accommodated between 470 and 694 megahertz. So effectively, therefore, what is available for terrestrial television broadcasting as an exclusive primary allocation is therefore 470 to 694 megahertz. There was therefore the need to review the GE06 digital plan to reallocate all of these assignments. So looking at the reduced available spectrum, and after a series of meetings of the broadcast and telecoms regulators, it was recommended that all the ECOWAS countries adopt a common standard for the transition. And the recommended standard was the DVB-T2 transmission standard and the MPEG-4 HVC video compression. This standard was brought to a meeting of the ECOWAS ministers of ICT, broadcasting, and telecoms, and it was adopted on 25th of September 2013. So all the countries now had the mandate to adopt that same common standard. Now, most of the African countries are still in the process of the transition, and so far, the deployment are mainly on standard definition television. The transition in all the ECOWAS countries is government-driven. Progress on the transition in the various countries is therefore dependent on the political will of the individual governments and the available funding for the transition. The journey so far. Although a common standard was adopted by all the ECOWAS countries, the approach to the transition are not exactly the same. In some countries, the national broadcasters are saddled with the job of signal distributor or carriers. In some other places, private service providers were contracted by the government to provide the digital transmission network. And then others adopted private company as an independent service provider. And then finally, there's a mix of government-owned signal distributor and privately independent service provider. Then we have a peculiar case of the situation with the island country of Cape Verde, or Capo Verde. This country has a lot in common with the Caribbean. It comprises of over 12 islands scattered far from each other within the Atlantic Ocean. And what they have done, the approach they have adopted to be able to transit, is to contract a European company to provide the digital transmission network on a turnkey basis, covering most of the major islands, utilizing existing broadcast infrastructure and adding new ones where needed. At the conclusion of the terrestrial network, the population of the country that is uneconomical to cover by the terrestrial network will be reached via satellite. Looking at the future of television, production facilities have gone from standard definition to HD 720 and full HD 1080. But beyond this, we have the standard definition full HD, 4K UHD, and 8K UHD. Most production houses in Africa have upgraded from full HD to 4K UHD. And some are actually experimenting with 8K UHD. The production facilities price of acquisition has come down very low. And then most of the program developers in Africa, especially the major ones like Nollywood, are looking at making money from the cinema houses before throwing out their programs to television showing where they don't make a lot of money. So most production houses have gone beyond full high definition. And therefore, looking forward, we need to take cognizance of what is coming for the future of television. And therefore, we should not wipe out available spectrum without taking cognizance to the future of where we're going, because sooner or later, we are compelled to now bring this format back to the homes. So, in concluding, we see the current transition as phase 1 of the transition. After the current transition, there will be frequency refarming and replanning. Current transition is on standard definition television, STV. Because most television production have moved from standard definition to high definition and ultra high definition, the next transition will be from digital to digital, from standard definition to high definition, and from high definition to ultra high definition. I thank you very much.